Oh, good evening and welcome to the Lady Bracknell interviewing Jack about the wedding video programme I have here for you. I do apologise, it's a handheld camera. I can't find my tripod. So, Lady Bracknell enters and she says, "You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing." And she gets her pencil case and notebook out. So I've put him ready for business and in charge, and she's already established as a type. I mean, she's been in the play for a few minutes. So here I've put the type. I think pompous, pushy mother trying to get a wealthy wedding for her daughter, a wealthy husband, sorry, for her daughter. You might call her a battle axe. You might not be familiar with that term. Certainly a snob. I've got some pictures. Yeah, I've prepared. Look. So I have these sort of battle axe pictures. It's a way of denigrating and putting down older women who won't just curl up in a corner. Older women who go out trying to sort their life out. There's a nice battle axey one, and that's her. So this is who I would have. I think I've forgotten her name now. Hyacinth Bouquet as who I would have as Lady Bracknell. So this type is established. And there she is. And you can argue whether she's defeated at the end of the play or if she wins. Right, so I'm sorry, I don't know where this is in your book, but I hope you can see it's where she starts to interview Jack. So the first thing I would say is that she's that Wilde is mocking the lack of sentimentality in marriage. So we work together. She's really impressed with herself that she's got the same list of men as the Duchess of Bolton, and the fact that they work together. So that's the first point you could make. You could also make up the fact that you have these series of set-up lines, jokes being set up, and then a punchline. So a joke being set up by Lady Bracknell and then a punchline. So, do you smoke? I'm glad to hear it. You should always have some sort of occupation. So here's another one. How old are you? A good age to be married. Do you know everything or nothing? Which is a setup to pleased to hear it. I don't like of anyone who knows anything. So it's this back and forward. You could call it, it's not quite banter, is it? Because it's more a question set up and then her comedy answer. It's like he's the straight man and she's the comedian. She sets up the jokes and then she answers. So in that, this is a comedy of manners and a satire of society. Any other ideas that come into it also get this light treatment no matter what they're like. I don't think I've said that very well. I do apologise. Here, look, this is what I'm talking about. So she says, I don't like anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. That could be a serious point. In a different play, it might well be a serious point that if you educate people, they might turn against you. If you're in the ruling class and you educate poorer people, they might turn against you. But it's got this ridiculous ending, lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square, and it's in the context of this comedic dialogue here. So these are all glossed over, these sorts of points in his comedy of manners. So I said the ludicrous ending there. So we have some setup jokes, and then we can move to, what have we got here? Some jokes that really show the wealth of the audience. Land has ceased to be a profit or a pleasure. Well, I don't identify with that, but maybe lots of people in the original audience did. They would be the sort of people who would have land. Poachers, people who steal off your land, are the only people who can make anything out of it. That's not really recognition humour for me, but it does say something about the assumed audience, that they would be people who'd laugh about the difficulties of land ownership. That's who he thinks the kind of wealthy person that will be at the theatre watching his play. We've got a bit of you can't expect Gwendolyn to reside in the country, mocking the whole difference between the town and country thing idea. So that's one quote you could have. Mocking the financial side of marriage. So when she finds out that he lives in 149 Belgrave Square on the unfashionable side, I thought there was something. I just knew there was something wrong with you. Couldn't work out what it was. Oh, you live on the wrong side of Belgrave Square. I knew there was something. So you can put that together with the other one that we had about we work together, me and Lady Bolton, mocking the financial side of marriage. So here we go again, back to setting up these jokes, really. And if you watch it at the theatre, she looks at the audience when she says the punchlines, and people laugh for a long time. I mean, it takes a long time to get through this scene. So what's your politics? Joke about politics I don't particularly get because everything's changed. Are your parents living, set up and here? Even though, again, something that in another play would be tragic, in this play it's opportunity for wit. And this is famous. To lose one parent may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. You might also say it's a preposterous reaction. It's part of this genre. In a satire or a comedy of manners, you're never going to get very deep emotions. It's not about the deep emotional life of the characters. It's about comments on society, mocking it, ridiculing it. So that's not, if someone tells you they've lost their parents, that's not what you say. Sorry, just sort of pointing that out just in case. Jack, then his reaction is equal. If someone says that to you about your parents, you don't say, you don't react just pointing out what the real facts are. So there's a lack of emotion here, which is all in keeping with the comedy of manners or the satire. So this is where he says that he was found in a handbag, and we have the trigger of the comedic problem. Oh, you can't marry her. We're not marrying someone who has been found in a handbag. So this is the function of this scene. And one of the other ways to keep it unemotional, so to relate how you were abandoned as a baby, to keep that in the comic mode, we have ludicrous information that Worthing's in Sussex and it's a seaside resort, that the bag's got handles. And let me find the other bit. That it was the Brighton line, the cloakroom at Victoria Station going to the Brighton line. So bits of ludicrous information, keeping it as a comedy of manners and not making her reaction comedic. Something to be laughed at, to enjoy her pomposity and recognise it maybe from someone you know, rather than keeping her the comic villain rather than an actual villain. So I think here you might make a point that he's ridiculing the Victorian obsession with propriety, with everything looking nice and everything being proper. Can you see how you spell that? Propriety. So a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion. You've been in a cloakroom in a railway station, we can't have you. So I've put some more emotionally ridiculous bits. Go and get a parent. And he says, I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. So on both sides, there's it's not aiming for emotional realism. It's aiming for ridiculing that society and ridiculing their obsession with propriety and their savagely financial regards to marriage. It's more about that and how pompous and snobby people are. So coming towards the end, we're in the final stretch here. So she says to him, we can't marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. I'm saying again, that could be an outrageous thing to say. Someone, there's no way we're having you. You're disgusting. You're a low life. But phrasing it that way makes it ludicrous and a lot less hurt. It's not about being hurtful. It's about ridiculing this Lady Bracknell. And okay, and by the time she's gone off stage there, we have this recognisably pompous character, which you may or may not feel is pricked, the pomposity at the end.